This is a 1957 Bolens Ride-a-matic garden tractor. It's not in original condition, but it has most of its original parts. This one's been in my garage for 10 to 15 years. It ran when I bought it. The old man was telling me how much better it was than what you could buy new. I was saving this tractor to fix up someday, but since I came across that other 57 Bolens that was in some previous videos, I don't need this one anymore. So I'm going to get it running and move it on to somebody else. When I got it, there was calcium chloride in all 4 tires. That's a liquid that used to be used for adding weight to farm machinery tires because it's heavy and don't freeze. The problem is it causes heavy rust on any metal it touches, and over time it'll rust out your valve stem and leak out onto the rim and rust out the rim. So I took all the tires off to get that fluid out of there and didn't put them back on. The back ones were mismatched anyways. The front ones went somewhere else already. But I have these tires here I'm going to use. The front ones are new trailer tires, and the tread looks a lot like the original Chenoit tires that usually come on these tractors. The rear tires are old and pretty stiff. Original BFG round labels. The inside lip's a bit torn up, but they have some good tread on them. So hopefully I can get them on there. Pretty soon it'll be looking more like that. That'll be better. Well, this has sat around long enough for the rims to start rusting again, so I'm going to clean them up and put some primer on them before mounting the tires. There's no thrust washer on the outside of the rim, just one on the back side. You really need one between the wheel and the snap ring, so I have to get one for that. That brown primer I always like to use is not so readily available anymore, so I'm using this gray primer now. This is the tire shine that I use. I wouldn't have to have this brand, but it has to be the satin finish, because I don't like the gloss finish tires on my tractors. The instructions probably say to clean your tires first, but I wasn't following the instructions anyways. I'm going to wipe this off before it dries completely. That's not ready yet. I'm going to let it dry a little more. Okay, that looks good. And I'm going to start with the one that's dried up the most. I'll let those sit for at least a day before I mount them. I think it might help soften them up a tiny bit. These front tires shouldn't be too hard to mount. I don't know how old they are, but they're still pretty soft. With the new inner tube, I like to put some air in it first, just to get it shaped right. Now for the old dish soap again. It just helps the rubber slide on the metal. I like to put the valve stem through the hole before I get the tire all the way on, just so I can get my fingers in there. Then this thing makes sure I don't lose it while I'm doing other stuff. While the tire is still loose on the rim, you want to rotate it so the hole lines up with the valve stem, or else your valve stem will be crooked after you put air in it. And if that happens, that's how you fix it. Let the air out, break both beads loose, and rotate the rim till it comes out straight. Yep, I forgot to turn the air pressure back on. On a new tire like this, I usually go about 20 pounds max to seat the bead. Then let some air out to around 10 pounds. But the final air pressure is decided after it's on the tractor. If the tread only touches the ground in the middle of the tire, that's too much air. And if the sidewalls are bulging out from the weight, then that's not enough air. There's already a thrust washer on the axle there, and I have one from my box of washers to go on the outside. You don't want to have a snap ring with no washer under it. It'll wear out your snap ring and come off there. Here's everything I need to do the second one, and I'll do that off camera. Well, that's what it looks like so far. And here's everything I need to do the rear tires. There might be a trick to putting a tire on a rim, but it's not a secret trick, so I'm going to show you how it works. Inside the lip of the tire here, there's rings of wire cast into the rubber. Maybe 8 or 12 wires per side. It could be one long wire wrapped around 8 or 12 times. Don't know. But if you cut through the bead, you have to cut through wire. The point is, it's flexible, but it's not going to stretch. Modern one-piece rims are drop center rims. That means they have an area in the middle that drops down to a different diameter. That needs to be there to allow the tire to go on. This is a piece of wire that I made into a circle. It's just household electrical wire. But just like the wire in the tire, it's flexible and don't stretch. I made it the same size as the inside lip of the tire. But look, you can just pop it right on there. When it's on there, it's the right size to fit in the rim. If that was part of a tire, it'd never come off there. And that's how it works. There's a bunch of wire in the bead there that keeps your tire from coming off the rim. The reason for the drop center in the rim is to give you room to slip the far side of the tire over the top. See, if that wire didn't go down in the drop center there, you wouldn't be able to slip the far side over. So when you see me mounting a tire, I'll have the valve stem away from me, and I'm always pushing down on the low side of the tire, because I'm trying to get that tire down into the drop center area, and it should be able to slide over the top. You can't have the valve stem hold towards you when you're doing the second bead of the tire, because the tube's already in there and it won't let you get this side of the tire down into the low area. So that's the way you want to do it. Valve stem away from you so the tire has a place to go down into that low spot, and you should be able to get the tire over the top. And look at that. How would you get that on there? I'm going to try to wedge my foot in here to keep the rim from turning. Well, that ain't right. I need a different size block. I'm going to put some air in here to get it closer to the right shape. Here you want to make sure the valve stem's coming out in the right direction, so you don't put your tube in backwards. Now I gotta find the valve stem. I want the valve stem on the far side, because you don't want it down here in the way where the tire has to get in that deep area. This looks like the worst area of the bead. So I'm going to rotate the tire to put the bad spot down here where it don't have to be forced over the lip. The last part of the bead that goes on is what takes a beating. This thing's so stiff it's hard to even get it started. This part of the bead on this side has to be all the way down in that smaller diameter area. Here the trick is to get it on there while tearing up the rubber as little as possible. I want to point out this is not a normal tire change. This is a pretty rough one. The beads on these tires were not in great shape to start with. Just hard from age. But also they were already damaged because the rims they were on were rusted so bad the rubber sticks in the rust and had to be pried apart. Once it slips over the edge, you want to make sure there's no torn rubber out of position or folded over in there. I'm trying to turn the rim to get the valve stem straight, but the tire's got a good grip on that rim. There, that looks good. I'm going to put some WD-40 on these lug bolts so they go in easier. Here's what that one looks like. I'm going to do the other one off camera. Okay, I can push it around in the yard now since it has tires on it. There's plenty left to do on this, but that's all I'm doing this time. Alright, that's it.